can use to measure these things, that this is the best opening weekend in college football history based upon the quality of the matchups, and no better game than Florida State and Ole Miss. Certainly right up there near the top of all of that. And the coach of the Seminoles is Jimbo Fisher, and he joins us early this morning here on Mike and Mike. How are you today, Coach?
Good, Mike. How are you doing?
We're doing well, and obviously you've got a game to prepare for, and I'll let Mike ask you all about that and your team. But I wanted to ask you about this story from this week with Travis Rudolph. You know, at a time when so many stories around sports in general and college football in particular are of the negative variety. We shared this with our audience yesterday. Travis Rudolph is the receiver for Florida State who went and visited a middle school, and there was a little boy eating his lunch all by himself. Turns out he is autistic. And Travis Rudolph just went over and sat with him, and these pictures went viral. And the little boy's mom posted a beautiful piece on Facebook about just how meaningful this was to her. And we subsequently were told, Coach, that when Travis Rudolph found out how much this meant to the family, he was very emotional about it. Can you just take us anywhere that our audience may not be aware? This was a story that a lot of people really connected to yesterday.
They did. Travis is a great guy. He's one of our great team leaders, and has really, really come on strong here lately. And it's amazing, I tell those guys, when you start having success on the field, when you really start understanding yourself as a person. And I said, we always talk about heroes in life, but just being nice to people and taking care of people and doing the right thing. And Travis said, Coach, I didn't know I was doing anything. He was like, I just went over as a little boy who was lonely. I thought I'd spend some time with him and talk with him. But I said, because you did the right thing. And I mean, it was amazing. It did hit Travis. I mean, it has affected him. And we tell our guys all the time the effect you can have on guys and on people in your life because of who you are. And not that you're special because you're a football player, but people know you. And he just went over and was nice and wanted to spend that. And after just spend a lunch and talk to the little boy because he looked lonely and was sitting there by himself. And, you know, and this happens. And it's just a truly, truly great story. But as you, Travis, is.
You know, aside of the players and of college, now you think of college football and basketball, such big business and around the money and such. But if you could just go into that, just a little more of how often you do that, because certainly you just had, you know, my boys a few years ago at Notre Dame, and they talk about the schools they visit or the hospitals they go to as a team and what players do and what message you as coaches are trying to give these players.
Well, you know, we do that a lot, Mike. We have a guy named Derek Coles who's had that program here in our athletic department. We go, I mean, they do this throughout the area all year round, all the time. And some of it's funny, you think that the guys, you know, are supposed to be there for the kids. They come back all energized. Who I met, this little boy, this little girl, whoever it was. You know, it's funny, on that same trip, there were 5 guys on that trip. And, you know, Travis got singled out because of that situation. But this principal called yesterday and said, you know, Dalvin Cook was over here. He was helping the girls change. They were collaring their hair or doing something. Dalvin Cook was helping the girls change their hair. Derwin James was with the group. DeAndre Francois was with the group. Jalen Wilkerson was with the group. You know, there was a whole group of those guys that rode there. Travis just happened to get singled out because of the one situation and the mom. And, you know, and Travis is also bringing, that boy is coming to our game in Orlando. And Travis invited him and the mother to have dinner with him next week. And he's going to try and spend some time with him because they know how much it meant. But we do that stuff all the time. And it just never gets recognized. And like I tell them, it's not supposed to. You're supposed to help people like that. So our kids love doing it, and we have a great program for that.
And for those who did not get a chance to see the story, I just reposted it. So if there was something that you missed yesterday, there it is. You mentioned DeAndre Francois, who was your redshirt freshman starting quarterback. So if to anyone this may sound familiar, a redshirt freshman starting quarterback for Florida State with extraordinarily high expectations. This happened not so long ago, Coach, so you're used to it. Give us, because everyone is going to make the comparisons, of course, to Jameis Winston. What do you see?
Well, you know, I go against that. I always say it's like comparing the two kids. You don't ever do that. Everybody's got to be themselves. And it's not fair to Jameis, it's not fair to DeAndre, but I understand why people do it. But DeAndre has a chance to be a really good player because he's very talented as far as making all the throws. He works at the game. Our guys love him. They follow him. He's a leader, all those types of things. Now we just got to let him settle in and play. And the thing I try to tell our guys around him, it's not his job to go win the game. It's our job to take care of him and let him function within our offense. And, you know, and kind of like we did James. It was not James went out and played well, but, you know, it just happened to be the guys around him allowed him to do that because they did their job. Hopefully they'll do that. And DeAndre will relax and sit down in the game and help play well. We got a heck of an opponent to play. I know that.
Yeah, you sure do in Ole Miss. But first about your team, you had 17 returning starters. Talk about the difference of that. You've been at this game a long time. Some seasons, I'm sure you're coming back with only a few starters from the year before, sometimes a little more. This time, 17. What's the difference when you're able to come back with this many starters, how that may help you going into the season?
Well, I think it's how you practice early in the season. Guys that know the standard, and also people don't realize letting the new guys in the organization see how it's supposed to be done, the way it's supposed to be done, so you can create the culture from top to bottom in your whole team. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people don't really look at. Is those young guys have a great example of how to practice. And again, of course, it lets you develop a little faster and some of the things that go on. But but the unique thing about this team is, Mike, we have 17 starters back, but there's still only 9 seniors, with about 4 of those guys starting. So I mean, we have a lot of players back that started, but we're still a relatively young team, so it can be that can be great for us. But our guys, you worry about them, when you have success early, do they get complacent? Well, they haven't been camp. They've had a really good camp. So hopefully we'll play well on Monday night.
And playing against Chad Kelly, a guy who last year threw for over 4,000 yards, 31 touchdowns. So give us the breakdown of he's kind of had a bit of a winding road to get to where he is now at Ole Miss, and certainly a very productive quarterback.
Extremely well. I mean, you're talking about throwing for 4,000 and running for over 500. There's not many guys in the country that do that. This guy, of course, he throws the ball extremely well. Makes great decisions. He runs the ball. He has great legs. I mean, you have to be you want to say, well, you want to affect the quarterback, you want to get to him. Well, if you're out of your rush lane, this guy's scrambling, creating plays, throwing, running, doing that. Then he's also very tough and competitive. I mean, he really is. I mean, you can tell when he competes in the game, he's putting his heart and soul in it. That's the way they play. They follow him. I mean, this guy's one of the top guys in the country. I mean, he may be as good as anybody.
Mike, and speaking of guys who may be as good as anybody, your Dalvin Cook last year ran for just under 1,700 yards, over 7 yards per carry, caught 24 balls for almost 250 yards. When you start putting together the list of the great players you've coached, and you've got a lot of guys playing in the NFL, where does Dalvin Cook go on that list?
Hey, he may be at the top because he can help girls color their hair, like he did the other day. He was up there that day. But, he is really good. And I say that in that, there's an electric guy, and you were talking about like with Antonio Brown with the Steelers. I mean, that guy changes numbers on the scoreboard. He just does. I mean, that's what Dalvin does. When they guys get space, they finish those big plays. They put them in the end zone. He can get the ball. He can run the ball. And, he's very deliberate and a team leader. I mean, an effective guy, likes football, likes being vocal, setting an example for his players. And, he's one of the all-time best ones I've ever been around, there's no doubt.
So you look at your situation now. You split with a couple of quarterbacks last year in Golson and McGuire. Now you have, we're talking about the redshirt freshman. So a lot of, and you have Dalvin Cook, so I'm sure everyone's like, well, they'll just run Dalvin Cook. But I think we all understand defenses know that as well, that say, listen, let's load up and make them use the quarterback. So how do you address that? I mean, you line up to stop Cook anyway, but now they know they have a young quarterback. So what is your expectation from Ole Miss, who usually has a very good defense, to try and make him a little skittish in the pocket?
Well, I mean, you've got to protect it. You've got to get balls out. I think you've got to be multi-formational. I think you've got to put pressure on the defense. I think you have to get guys. We also had 3 guys that caught over 50 balls. We're still the only team returning that had 3 receivers catch over 50 balls. Travis Rudolph being the leader, and you had Bobo Wilson and Kermit Whitfield to be able to do that. And plus, we got some other young guys, and our young tight end Ryan Hickman. We have guys that catch the ball. I think we have other guys that can run the ball. But I mean, we got to use those guys. I mean, if they're going to stack the box, you have to create the one-on-ones. You have to go win those one-on-one battles, throw it down the field. We got to protect. And we can move the pocket. There's tons of things you can do, and we're going to have to do it. And we know that going into the game. We can't set the quarterback in one spot and let them get to him, or put Dalvin in one spot and let those great D linemen come at him. I mean, we're going to have to be very multi-dimensional in our attacks and open up the game. That's what you have to do, and we know that. But use Dalvin also in the game, because when you hand it to him, they're going to know it. And so when you fake it to him, they're going to know it. So then we got to win those one-on-one battles down the field.
Well, we appreciate your time, Coach, and it's the best time of the year for football. Everyone's 0-0, and everybody has high expectations. So let the good times roll.
Yeah,
we appreciate
except for the coach, Mike.
Yeah.
We're too worried. You know that the opening game is fun for everybody but the coach.
Good luck, Coach. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Coach.
We'll see you Monday night. That's Jimbo Fisher with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil.